Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Lenore. I am an interior designer and I'm also the academic chairperson for interior design at SoFA Design Institute. And today, I'm going to talk about how do we designers plan and design workspaces. So now that we have been stuck at home and we have curated our own workstations at home, we got to assess now if we did it right. And if we didn't, what can we do to sort of like assess how to improve that? Let's begin. So I'm going to talk about how do we design efficient workspaces. So before I dive into the topic, I wanted to introduce myself first. So my name is Carla Leonor. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm an interior designer. I have a firm called Signature Spaces and Clio Design Studio. I have been in the industry for more than a decade, and I focus on designing built environments and also designing pieces of furniture that go inside our homes. I have been working with furniture manufacturers for more than 6 years, and these are the items that you see around you and even online at the moment. So, like I mentioned, I am also the academic chairperson for interior design at SoFA Design Institute. And we actually have a surprise for you towards the end of this session. We are giving away a workshop for a lucky winner. All right, so let's begin. So, how do we designers even, begin when we are trying to design these spaces? So the secret is, first one, always think of yourself because you are going to end up as the user of this space. Or if you have family members joining you, then think of them as well. It's important that we are grounded with the people who are actually going to be using the space that we are going to be curating, right? Now, the second one is to think of needs over wants. And it's very important, especially nowadays, that people like shopping online. And we see a lot of things, we see a lot of features, we see a lot of, glitz and glam and all of those sprinkles on top of these furniture pieces or office furniture pieces that are available for us. So you have to keep in mind that needs first before your wants, because we don't also want to overdo the space that we are curating, right? And that leads to my third one. So the third one is to be familiar with the standards. Now, if you begin to overdo, your space in a sense that you try to put a lot of things in it and it sacrifices, let's say your comfort, then that's not really the ideal arrangement for a well-designed space that is conducive for efficiency and productivity. Now, the fourth one is also connected to the second and third, is to understand what real value means. So when I say value, it may also mean that you might have to pay more for what you are going to buy because it's higher in quality. When we see a lot of these promotions all around us and the photos look enticing, we are in a way triggered, to click purchase or to just get them because, we're attracted to the aesthetic of these products. But the thing is, not everything is made the same way. And I know this by heart because I have been working with furniture manufacturers for so many years, and I know the different kinds of quality that we produce and the different kinds of prices that they come in, right? So it's important that you know the standards and you know what value means so that you can be smart at selecting what you end up purchasing, may it be a product or the space itself, right? Now, the fifth one is all about customization. So I am a big fan of customization and I can't help it. I'm a designer. I like making custom products for my clients. But for you, because each of us are built differently and each of us also would have our different requirements for the different kinds of work that we do, perhaps you can look into customization. So when you do that, it's best to consult a professional. Why is it so? Because there are standards out there and we need to be aware of them when we are creating these customizations to ensure that they are going to benefit you and not going to give you a headache instead, right? At worst, an injury. Okay, so talking about the possibility of you being injured. Like, why? So there are two major topics that you have to take note of when we are talking about interior design and efficiency in spaces. So there is a study of ergonomics and the study of anthropometrics. Now, ergonomics talks about the relationship of people with the objects around them or the space that surrounds them. So it's how a person interacts with the product or interacts with the space. So we use these as designers, we use these as guidelines when we are designing for products and spaces. While anthropometrics, these are data. These are gathered data from so many years and so many regions around the globe to get a standard of measurements for people. So now designers actually use the study of statistics, to generate designs that follow the requirements of the human body. So yes, we are built differently, but there are averages that we follow so that we get to accommodate everyone. That's also the reason why when you buy a chair, a sofa, a bed, they come in standard sizes because it's meant to accommodate a variety of sizes of people, a variety of age groups, and different genders, right? So in a nutshell, what does this mean and why is it important? So anthropometrics are standard references when we are designing, and we use this as a universal language. So we understand the law of averages. We understand how humans are built, how they are created, so we can design better for them. And designing better for them is connected to ergonomics. So ergonomics deals with how a person relates to the product that he or she is using and how they relate to the space that they are in. So for example, when you are trying to use a pen, as simple as a pen, how comfortable are you gripping that pen? Can you write for a long time using that pen? Or does your wrist hurt? Does your fingers hurt? That means perhaps the design of that pen is not apt for you. So that's the idea of ergonomics. We design these spaces and these products to ensure that they are meant for people, they're designed for people. And why do we need to design for people in mind? So, like I mentioned earlier, you have to think of yourself. Yeah, you are the user. And why do we need to do that? When we are working in an office environment and in our home offices, there are two elements at work here. So there's something that we call static work and something that we call the force work that involves force. So when we talk about static work, this is when, for example, you are sitting right now comfortably in your chair, and you're not moving so much. That position still involves a little bit of effort. So your body is still generating energy for you to stay upright and for you to maintain that position. Now, when you start stretching, let's say you start reaching for something in front of you, or start reaching for, let's say, a cup of coffee, somewhere at the corner of your table, then you're generating force. There is a bit more energy exerted when you bend your neck forward, when you reach your hands forward, or when you bend down to reach something off the floor, or you recline. If you try reclining right now, I'm sure that you will feel your abs will start to contract and your lower neck will also start to stiffen a bit. So that's your body making the effort to maintain that position, to support your body so you can maintain that position. So these two happens when we are working during our entire 8 hours, when we're sitting down and trying to do the work that we need to do. So these things come into play. So it's important that the products that we design and the products that we decide to buy should supplement, should provide the support that we actually need. So we can efficiently work throughout the day and maintain our productivity levels. So that's really the secret of designing these environments. You really have to think of who the user is and what they need as human beings. Right? Now, I just wanted to share with you facts from our daily routines. So, did you know that the average person working at the keyboard can perform from 50,000 to 200,000 keystrokes a day? So that's so much effort generated, and that entails your wrists moving a lot, right? So the more that you move your joints, you move your body, it's generating effort. And when you are generating that force or that effort in the wrong way, it can end up as an injury. And it may sound trivial at the moment, but if you come to think of it, repeated work that is painful can become an injury, really. Like, for example, just carrying a box off the floor repeatedly throughout the day with the wrong position, that can cause you a prolonged back pain, right? Or when you are trying to work on your computer and it's just too close to you, that will also cause your eyes to feel a bit of pain throughout the day. It's going to cause eye strain. So that's something that we would like to prevent. And there are ways to do that. There are ways to design spaces for it to become more efficient, for it to become user centered. Now, another is overexertion. Falls and RMI are the most common cause of workplace injury. So these are the repeated tasks that we end up doing every day. And there's an average also of 125,000 back injuries due to improper lifting every day. Now, when this happens, there are tears that could happen in our muscles. And when these tears happen, it can scar within. So that scarring within prevents you from moving in the optimal way, right? Your joints won't be bending so much compared to a normal person. So these are things that we are trying to prevent from happening. So that's the importance really of designing your spaces properly, of choosing the right kind of space as well, allotting the right kind of allowances between you and another person that you're working with. So these are all of the things that we would need to look into. Now, here's an exercise for everyone to sort of like assess how you're doing. How are you doing when you are working? So we need to practice a neutral posture. Like I mentioned earlier, when you are in a neutral posture, your body doesn't generate much effort. And without much effort, you can actually maintain that position, and you can become more productive for a longer period of time because you're not straining. You're not straining your joints, you're not straining your body parts, right? Now, the first one, you have to maintain an erect position of your back and your neck with your shoulders relaxed. So you don't have to scoot down, you don't have to bend so much or move your face closer to the computer or to your laptop. So you want a neutral position. And one of the ways to maintain that neutral position is that when you lift your laptop screen or your computer screen at eye level, so meaning you don't have to look down and bend your neck, or you don't even have to, strain your neck upwards either. So there are desks that can be adjusted in height, or you can also get one of those risers that would support the height of your screens. Now, the second one is to position equipment and work directly in front of and close to your major tasks. Now, when you are trying to assess how far should that be, what do I mean by being in front of your, close to your major tasks? So the idea is you don't even have to have a meter tape, right? Because we are focusing on yourself, you can also use your own body as a reference. Like I mentioned, we are designing for people. So now to design for people, we can use our bodies as references to what good design is. Now, to understand or try to see how far that work area should go, you can use your arms. So your forearms here from your elbow to the tip of your finger. When you extend it in front of you with your elbow at the tip of your table, that should be the area where your immediate tasks would go. So immediate tasks would include your laptop is there, your mouse is there, your keyboard is there. So everything that you always use should be within that distance, right? Now, beyond that, should be things that you don't normally use a lot. So it could be perhaps your books, perhaps um, maybe your pen holders. Why does it have to be far? Because when you extend your arm, when you reach your arm forward, there's effort also involved there. So when you're constantly doing that throughout the day, it's sort of like working out. So you are exerting effort. Now, when that effort, again, is not done properly, it can cause you a lot of pain, a lot of, and possibly an injury. Now, the third one is to keep your upper arms close to your body. So your elbows at 90 to 100 degrees. So that ensures that you are in a neutral position. If you find that your table is much lower and that you have to rest your elbows lower and that bends your back, that means it's not ideal. So the ideal is your arms are close to your body and it's at 90 to 100 degrees, and you're able to rest that comfortably on your desk or your armrests. The fourth one is to keep your feet flat on the floor. So our feet are designed to balance ourselves upright, right? It's designed to support your body upright. The same way when we're standing, it also applies when we are sitting down. So when your seat, let's say your office chair, is too low, then that means your legs are outstretched in front of you. So it may be comfortable for a time, but throughout the day, you're going to feel like you want to adjust your feet. When you start adjusting them closer to your body, that means you're lifting your your legs already, right? And that goes up to your hips. So all of those, because they're not properly, say your chair is not proportioned to your table, that can cause you a bit of pain. Okay. Now, the fifth one is that your wrist should be as neutral as possible. So the movement for wrist should be 15 degrees in all directions. So that's like a small amount, right? That means you're not meant to overexert your wrists. Your wrists are prone to injury, and that entails you when you carry heavier objects, when you carry items that are just too heavy for, let's say, one hand, that can injure your wrist. And how does it apply to your workstation? So we use our mouse a lot, we type a lot, and that means we're using our hands a lot. So all of that bending, all of that typing, all of that movement of left to right when we are using our mouse, that's going to cause a bit of strain on your wrist. And you can be prone to developing carpal tunnel syndrome. So to avoid that, there are a lot of gaming mouse models that are available out there. So you can look into that because the design of those is meant to maintain your arms in your hand at neutral position. So it's sort of like giving your arms a bit of TLC, right? So we need all of these, and these are considered as investments because in the long run, it will also benefit you by limiting your risk of injury and allowing you to work for longer periods of time. So more on the efficiency, right? It's really an investment that you should look at. So that also extends to your office chairs, right? So that's something that we will talk about more in a bit. Now, the sixth one is to avoid bending neck forward for prolonged periods of time. Perhaps if you need to bend your neck forwards, you're trying to see what's on your screen. Maybe you need to check your eyesight if you need to move to your screen that close. So when you bend your neck forwards too much and you keep doing that, again, that produces a large amount of force compared to the neutral position. So your neck pain actually can go up to your head and can produce even migraines. So when we are talking about designing spaces well, we're not only thinking about the physical aspects of the space, we're actually also thinking about other things, other factors that can affect your productivity. That involves also good lighting, right? Good lighting allows you to see better, so you don't have to move closer to your screen. Right? So that is included also in designing office space as well. The seventh one is to avoid static positions. So again, yes, you can be in a neutral position, but you also have to take breaks. You cannot sit down for several hours in a day and only take a break within a day for like twice or thrice, right? You need to take breaks more. You need to stretch your body. You need to walk around for a bit. So it's really good for your body to not maintain that prolonged position because it can also cause muscle fatigue. Right? So better to encourage movement, encourage blood flow, encourage circulation. So we're now at the point that I'm going to give you pro tips. So what are the things that we really look into that you can also remember and carry with you after this session? So the first tip is to use your body as a guide in planning your office space. Like I mentioned earlier with my example, you can use your arms to measure the distance between yourself and your immediate workspace. Now, what else can we do? What else can we do to sort of like assess our space? Now, if you put your knuckles together, your fists together against each other, and outstretch both of your hand. This way, the distance from elbow to elbow would actually tell you your personal space. Now, your personal space is important because when you are working with several other people in a workspace, in your home office, it's essential that you still respect each other's personal space, because that personal space doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a preferred space for distance from each other. It's the ideal distance from each other for you to work more efficiently. So imagine if you do this and you turn around, you know without if you don't end up knocking anything, that means you're giving yourself enough space to move around. If let's say when you do this and it ends up hitting another person's elbow or another person's chair, that means you're not getting the ample space that is recommended for productivity, right? So another thing is that when you outstretch your hand, so try to stretch your hand as far as you can. So that is basically the ideal distance of your table. Right? So that means you're able to reach the farthest point of your table. So it can be larger. Yes, definitely. Executive tables can come in really large sizes. But ideally, all the things that you end up using should be within reach. And once you overexert, once you extend your arm and then extend your body forward, that means there's force being used, right? That affects your lower back, affects also your shoulders, right? Because you're exerting too much effort just to reach an item that's a bit too far from you. So ideally, an outstretched arm should already reach your maybe not so constantly used items, right? The next one is consider the users of the space. How many people are you working with? Are you working with your kids? Are they studying at the same place that you are working? Are you working perhaps with your spouse or maybe your sister? right? So you have to understand that each of them would have their own requirements for their space. Aside from having, their own unique dimensions. So what you're seeing right now are sample anthropometric data. So again, these data are basically measurements of different people. So measurements of each of our different body parts, right? So this is usually done per race and per gender and per age group, right? So we have female, male, and we also have different races, right? So the same way when you are shopping for shoes or clothes, you can see that there's a US size, a Euro size, and an Asian size because we each have our own averages. And also, when we are buying clothes, for example, there are clothes for babies, for kids, for young adults, for, let's say, full formed adults, and also for seniors, right? Because our bodies would change over time. So there are available products specifically for the use of these different age groups. And the basis for those products when they were being designed are these anthropometric data. So the same way that we designers of built environments use them to as a reference to design products that end up being used in spaces by people with different in different age groups or different genders, the same applies to different practices as well. As long as the item is being used by a person, then it should be designed with the person in mind. So you always consider the user of the space. So when we are talking about, let's say, shelving, when you are deciding on the height of your shelves, you have to think of who are the users of that shelf. So how tall are they? Can they actually reach the shelf, or do they have to look for an additional step ladder just to get there? So imagine yourself in their position. What do they need from the space? So you can design and you can curate these spaces better. Now, my last tip is to consider all factors affecting your productivity and efficiency at work. I did mention something earlier, and here's a visual cue as well. Lighting is a huge deal in these spaces. It really affects how productive and how efficient we are with our work. If you are in a dimly lit environment, in a dimly lit space, perhaps you would feel at some point, oh, it's comfortable. It's dim, I like it, it's more relaxing. But when you're trying to work, you have to provide the right kind of lighting for you to become more productive. So there are different kinds of light fixtures, right? So we have light fixtures that are ideal for task lights, another for ambient lights, and another for accent lights. Now, for workspaces, you need task lights. Task lights are designed to be bright enough to illuminate your workspace so that you can see what you are reading, what you are working on. That usually involves a lot of detail. So you need to have these items with you. And these are the first few things that you should look at. Aside from looking at the bells and whistles of different furniture pieces that you can see, try to assess what you really need. With the standards that I was showing earlier, at least with the basics of being able to assist you with your work, to accommodate the work that you do, it's also important to look at all the other elements that are involved in that efficiency, right? So you have your chair, you have your table, and you have your lamp. So those three are the basic ones that you need. So, oh, there's also your mouse, right? So with your chair, it's important that you're able to maintain a relaxed position. And it also allows you to put your arms and rest your arms on your table comfortably. If it's too low, then there must be something wrong. If it's too wobbly and you feel like you're overexerting a bit of effort just to maintain your position, then perhaps there's something wrong with it. I've seen a lot of these chairs as well that come in very affordable prices, but they don't allow you to maintain a neutral, comfortable position. So that's why you even see, again, gamers have really large seats or office chairs, because these are designed to help them maintain that position for a long period of time, because they spend a lot of time in front of their computers. So if you notice, these office chairs also are able to adjust to different kinds of positions, similar to how luxury cars would present their chairs, right? There are a lot of adjustments that you can make so that you can, in a way, customize these pieces for you specifically, the user. So that also extends to other types of things, like your table. Some tables can be adjusted, light fixtures. There are light fixtures that can be dimmable and can change different temperatures depending on what you need. So these are things that you have to look into. These are considered as investments for your office space arrangement at the moment. So to summarize, so the first one is to use your body as a guide when you are planning your workspaces. Number two, consider the users. What is the ideal number of people who can actually share your workspace? Given the clearance, your personal space that's needed, right? How many people can you actually fit? Now, the third one is to look at the big picture. So a healthy working environment should not be restricting, but supporting you towards productivity. It should provide you with comfort, mentally, physically, or psychologically. So by then you can assess, okay, perhaps my space needs a little bit of adjustment, needs a little bit maybe also of arrangement even. It can start there. It can start with just the arrangement. So space planning is really essential and is key to improving your workspaces. But before you do your space planning, assess first if you are actually using products that are actually working for you. So that is where anthropometrics and ergonomics would come into play. Now, if you are interested to learn more about these things, then you can head on over to SoFA Design Institute. We do offer workshops and long programs to assist you in designing not just your workspaces, but your homes or your offices or your businesses. So there's really so much more that you can learn. There's so much more about interior design that will interest you. We haven't even tackled color and material, and that's something that will really liven up your workspaces. So I hope I was able to help you in this regard, and I look forward to seeing you all again. Bye.